Hey everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Goose and the Grid podcast. I'm your host Prab, and this is the show where we deep dive into academic journey, co-op grinds, and real experience of the students. Today we have an incredible guest to kick things off, Prabhav Khera. Prabhav is a final year computer science student at UW, and he finally graduated. Congrats on
Hey,
that.
let's go.
He's also an international student like me from India, a former strategy team lead from Midnight Sun, and he's heading into the full time postgrad as a software engineer at Motive Technologies.
Cresta.
Krista. So, today we're going to talk about everything from landing a US tech job and surviving the UW culture to dating on campus and dealing with the imposter syndrome. Before we jump in, I've also linked Prabhav's LinkedIn account in the video description. And if you guys want to connect with him, and if you guys want to connect with me, you can find my LinkedIn in my channel bio. All right, Prabhav, welcome to the podcast show. Thanks for being here. Thanks for taking out the time.
Yeah, so I'm Prabhav, and just a quick intro about me. So, yeah, I'm final year student, and I joined here in 2021, starting of COVID. So, it's a completely different situation when you join in like when nobody's here, basically, because like the campus, like 20% of like the capacity is currently here. And since then, 5 years, been a long time being at Waterloo. And it's been a variety of experience. I've made a lot of friends. Been stuck in the co-op grind for a while, stuck in exams and like the academic preparation, especially with UW. It's extremely hard. So yeah, it's been a great experience, and I'd love to answer any questions that you guys can have about this. And yeah, I hope you guys can like understand what the core of UW is all about.
Great. Because I think for you, it's also like different. A lot of like UW students are like coming as first year right now. They are just like coming in person, but for you, the whole experience was different because you came in from like COVID and stuff, like the online system, like getting the stuff done online rather than being on campus. That's also like different for you.
Yeah, it's extremely different because like when I joined in, right? So actually my first and second terms are like completely different from the rest of my study terms because the first and second term were all about like trying to balance both sides, which like half of students are in person, half are online. So it's like you sometimes you have to go to in-person classes. Some of them have like online classes, and it's extremely hard to kind of manage both of them and try to get along with that. So it's really challenging. And yeah, I think um, after that we moved to like the completely in-person stuff. So yeah, it's a very different experience, especially once you're like coming in from high school, and like my entire 12th grade was also online. So it's extremely challenging from like having 2 years online and then suddenly moving to in person like second year of university.
Let's start at the beginning. Why did you choose UWCS and Canada in general over staying in India for an IIT? Like IIT is like the most prestigious, I think,
Yeah,
where you can like get an admission.
yeah, IIT is the most prestigious, and I did give the exams for it, and I got like a 98 something percentile on like the JEE mains. But like the question then arises is like, what are your future aspirations? Like, what are your goals, and how are you going to achieve them? India, as much as it's great, like it's a very budding economy, and it has a lot of future prospects. The work culture there, and especially at like the extremely junior roles, is not good. Like you, if you get into a good, like a really good IIT, like a Bombay or Delhi or somewhere, which is like a very rare chance, you have to at least get like a top 1,000, top 500 rank, then you have a good shot at getting a great future like future job. But apart from that, it's like literally a 0.1% chance of landing like a big tech job that is going to pay you well at the start. Otherwise, what most people get stuck at is like a 5 LPA, 15 LPA, or something like that of a package. And that kind of a job is not going to help you at all in your career. It's basically you're stuck there. And the problem is like if you try to shift, right, nobody is going to like get you a better job. It's going to be like the same levels or like a slight increase, and that kind of career trajectory is not helpful. So and also like the problem is like your senior managers, they've been stuck there like for like 10 years or something. they're having their careers on like that kind of a salary, that kind of a role, and it's extremely hard for you to kind of push that, and they're going to like have put a lot of pressure on you. So I wanted a kind of an experience where it's like my it's not about just like the company, it's about like my personal growth, and it's about how I can progress myself through my career. And I thought like Canada and US are like one of the big tech markets, and especially a place like Canada is especially good for something like immigration in the long term, because it's so much easier to kind of come here. And if you're like actually getting a job here, like even if like I don't get a job here, it's still a really good opportunity. As for UWCS, right? So I'm gonna tell you a story because like it's one of my uncles, right? He works in Amazon, and when I was like trying to decide on my university, he's the one who kind of told me about University of Waterloo initially, because I wasn't even planning to apply to Canada, to be honest. And the idea there was that he said, I have worked with so many UW graduates at various companies, and all of them have been amazing. Like the analytical thinking and like the level of sort of dedication to the job is so much better in terms of UW, apart from like all the other universities, because Waterloo trains you to be in the industry. It is not training you for research, it's not training you for academics, it is specifically training you for industry. And that is the main thing, right? So he said that UW is basically the Stanford of Canada, and if you're going to get there, it is the best university you can go to in Canada. So you have to get there.
Yeah, because I think for me as well, I chose UW. Like I have like offers from Toronto, and a lot of like other students have the same thing. They have like other offers as well. But for UW specifically, it's the co-op culture. Like a lot of like other students, they aren't able to like score a good co-op from like other universities as UW does. Uh, so yeah, I think that is like one of the main things like students mainly consider.
Yeah, I think the co-op culture is better defined because this university has like built its program in such a way. Like you have six co-ops, you have the opportunity to apply anywhere, externally, internally, and you get a job. You can just tell them, okay, I'm getting the co-op. If even if like suppose you want to like have like you're joining a very startup kind of company, or you're joining a company that they don't recognize, you can just leave the co-op program and say, okay, I'll do internship in this, and just say it's an off term for me. So anything that you do is allowed. It's sort of something like U of T, where it's like you have to take like a 12 or 16 month kind of like a thing, where it's like if you get an offer, you have to accept, and there's like a lot of restrictions on you. And Waterloo says, nah, we're not doing this. You can do whatever you want. So that kind of a freedom, it gives you like the opportunity to go out, explore, negotiate offers. Like it's like a simulation of what you'll do in a real life. And I think that is the kind of thing that U Waterloo does best.
Because at the end you're gonna get like a full-time offer. That's the most important thing that matters besides the courses. I mean, courses are important from like studying perspective, but if you don't know how to like negotiate job offers, if you don't know like where you're gonna work after the co-op is done, because the job market is getting like more and more tougher every time.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, so I think the key there is like you need to be able to perform in real world, right? Like the courses are going to take you so far. It's like they're going to teach you the fundamentals, but that's it, right? They're not going to tell you how to work in a company. So unless you're going to actually work there, unless like you do the interviews, you have, like talk with people, you build connections, get referrals, or like negotiate offers with HRs and that kind of stuff, it's not going to be easy in the long run.
Right, being an international student without parents around, do you ever feel lonely or like have homesickness? If you do, like how do you deal with that?
I think it's like a mixed question. Like some people do, some people don't. For me, it's like it's sometimes like once in a while, I feel like oh, I miss like having people to talk to sometimes. Because like my friends are there, right? But friends are like it's not family, so it's a bit of a difference there. But it's like sometimes it's like you are good because like you're spending like you're having fun with your friends and stuff. And if your parents were, they'd probably be like, "Oh, get home" or something like that. And then it's like, oh, I have the freedom right now because I can do whatever I want. So Sometimes it's sort of a mix. It is definitely very different, especially once you like come in and like first year, because it's like so weird. It's like you're doing everything, and there are no people to kind of help you with anything at home. So yeah, it's a very different experience. But all I can say is like you can like you definitely adjust pretty quickly, because especially if you start with something like residence at university, something like, so there are two different types, right? If you join like V1 or Rev, or if you go to like UWP, so like you get the meal plan, you get like you don't have kitchen and stuff, then it's more like you're just staying there and eating out. Or if you like staying in UWP, it's like you have to cook and stuff. So it's a different experience, but yeah, you can settle in and then like work accordingly. um, Definitely like a good experience. So yeah, I think it's kind of a mixed thing. It kind of depends on the situation.
Yeah, because I think it's different for like some people because I have like mixed opinions about that as well. There were some students because like in my first year, since I was like really connected with my family when I like came here, I was like super. I think I didn't have like that many friends too.
Uh-huh.
So and it was like hard because I was an introvert from the start. So it
Mhm.
was hard for me to like make friends and to talk about my personal stuff because there's always like this protection wall that you don't want to like overshare like stuff. With family it's different definitely because with them you are like much more comfortable sharing
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. Yeah, there are some students who kind of feel the homesickness and there are some students that don't.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's all about like what kind of person you are, like especially how connected you are with your family. So yeah, everyone can have a different experience based on that.
Tech and universities can be incredibly stressful. Have you ever hit like a breaking point or had a breakdown during your degree? What was that like and how did you navigate it?
So yeah, I think it can be extremely stressful, and I'll tell you about my experience with that. So basically, what happens is like you can hit this point where you see a lot of people are kind of like aiming really high, right? I mean, they're working so many, like they're working like high paying jobs, they're doing like these projects, and they're like acing their exams and everything. And you go is like, so at the start, like especially like my first 2 3 years, I was extremely competitive. Like, yeah, I have to do well as well. You don't have to land Google, I have to land Microsoft, whatever is gonna be there, right? And then once you don't land it, right? Because it can happen, obviously. It's like very luck dependent. You get sort of that like thing like, oh, why am I
Imposter
even
syndrome.
working,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like, even if I don't do that much, right? I mean, you need to have a certain level of effort, of course. It's not that you can avoid effort, but if you have like that certain minimal effort, right, you can achieve the same amount as, let's say, 1.5x of that. So at that point, you're like, why am I putting that 1.5x effort? I can just put 1x effort and get the job done. So that is the kind of thing I faced where it's like I was just not interested in working. I was like, yeah, I'm done. Okay. I'll just do the bare minimum. I'll just survive and I'll chill. I hit that kind of a point for like 4 months, especially like in my 4A term, where it was like I just didn't want to work. I just didn't want to go to class. I didn't want to like do anything. I just wanted to like be, I'll be at home. I'll chill. I'll do the assignments. I'll do the exams. I'll look for a job. And once I find it, that's it, done. Let's go. So that was kind of a stressful breakdown because like, yeah, I'm done. I didn't want to do anything extra outside of like what is required of me. And that, like, once you're in it, you don't even realize what's happening. And I was like, my friends are there and they're like going out, they're doing stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not coming. I'm not interested, or I'm tired. I don't want to do anything. So that kind of laziness kind of hits you, and navigating that was like pretty challenging. Uh, Literally, my mom had to come here, and I stayed with her for like a few months, and I had to like kind of turn it around where it's like I wasn't in a constant state of laziness. I was like, okay, I'll go out, I'll go to the gym, I'll do some work, and even if I'm like not doing any work, I'll just sit on my laptop and not try to get distracted, right? If even if I see anything, you know, I can kind of do it. And like it's kind of like you have to get into a state where you'll be motivated to work rather than just being like thinking about like I'll work sometime. So yeah, it's a navigating it can be very challenging, and it can happen to anyone because the culture is like that, right? I mean, even if you put in efforts, it's sometimes not going to give you the results. So you have to kind of compose yourself to say, like, I will put this effort without thinking of the consequences, right? I mean, even if it doesn't happen, the efforts are not wasted. It's going somewhere. I just have to focus on that rather than saying, okay, I'm not putting, like, it's not getting the results, so let's stop putting the efforts in the first place.
Yeah, so like having like expectations, like you worked so hard for like an XYZ company,
Uh-huh.
and another person who, I mean, like didn't put that much effort, but still by luck he like got the job and you didn't. And I mean, like, good for them that they got it, but yeah, it definitely hurts because I mean, you put your ass off for that kind of that kind of stuff, and still you didn't like got that job. I mean, then you start to like, I think that's like one of the most common thing that a lot of like students do. They just start questioning them like, what's wrong with me? What did I do that I shouldn't have done, and stuff like that.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, it's definitely that kind of thing. And then you're like, okay, what do I do from there, right? I mean, if you just stop the efforts, it's not going to give you a job, right? So you have to put just more effort and just believe that you're doing right. And the idea is like, yeah, you might be putting efforts in the wrong direction. You have to like talk to people and try to correct that. But at the end of the day, you can't just stop the efforts once you see that. So that's kind of the learning experience from that.
So just like having like no expectations about the job, but like still putting in the effort
Exactly,
without like thinking
exactly.
about the fruit that you would bear. Because I think there was like a pretty famous line from the Bhagavad Gita about that, like
Yeah,
where Christian G says to Arjun that don't think about what the fruit will bear. You just like put in the effort. The fruit is like in my hands. I'll be the judge of that, whether I should like give it to you or not.
exactly, exactly. I mean, yeah, sometimes it's like you get a few, like, I have got a couple of jobs where it's like I fucked up the interview entirely and I still got it. So it's like, it's not 100% there, right? I mean, sometimes you put in so much effort and don't get it. So yeah, it's a very different kind of an experience.
All right. So for the second part, is it hard to make friends at UW? How do you navigate the stigma that student body is overly competitive and or like socially awkward?
So I mean, it's not hard to make friends, like especially like as early as you make friends, right? I mean, if you're first year and you're staying in like a university residence, right? You have so many opportunities to make friends because like everything's kind of happening. A lot of people are joining. A lot of people are looking for new friends. So if you make friends at the start, they're gonna like, and you can maintain that friendship for 5 years. Then you have a solid friend group, right? At the end of that, the question is like, can you make new friends every term? That is very challenging, especially if you're not doing anything extra. If you just go to class, let's say you sit in a corner or you sit with like three, four friends that you have, and you just go there, you come back, and then on co op terms, you go outside, you go get a job, you do something, then you come back. There's no opportunities to make friends in this, right? I mean, you're stuck with the four friends that you have. You go out, you don't talk for 4 months because there's nothing to talk about. You come back, you're still with your four friends. So there's like no growth in that. The friend making part comes once you go do something else. So you have to get out of those four friends and see, okay, I'll go join this group. Let's say I join the computer science club, or I join some other design team, or I join, a board game club, or anything, right? And you try to do something that excites you. You'll meet a few people in that club or in that place, right? And that's an opportunity to make friends. The question is like, you have to do something else. Now the question about like, is it like socially awkward? Yes, it is socially awkward because a lot of people here are academics or like focused on a lot of their co-op stuff, and the main problem is, right, the co-op cycles. So you have uh, every 4 months, any person can be on co-op, any person can be on studies. So it's not like you're with them for like a continuous 8 months that normal people are in other universities. So it's not easy. Like if you chat with, like see them 4 months like somewhere, right, and then they're gone, it's done, right? I mean, you don't know anything. And it's not like, I mean, you can try to connect them on Instagram, you can send them a few reels, but it's like you have to continue, you have to maintain that kind of a relationship for like few months, and then you'll be like, you see in person, like, oh, hey, what's up. So it's very different, right? And the student body is overly competitive, so that is also true, because everyone has like this dream, right? You have a dream of getting into big tech. Everyone has a dream of getting into big tech. Everyone wants 6K. So it's everyone is overly competitive because that is necessary to survive. If you are not competitive, if you're not going to look for things that you want, then you're not going to get it. So it is, you need to be competitive. So how do you make friends in that? Well, it's like you find like-minded people. Okay, if you are competitive, if you want that, then you find four friends who want that, right? With you. And that is the kind of people that you're going to find a lot. Now there are also people who are interested in different things, and you'll find those as well. It's all about being in the right place to find them. Like if you're stuck in a library, you're trying to find people who relax or like go to party, you're not going to do that, right? Or in class, it's not going to happen. So you have to go to that relevant place to find that relevant person, and it's all about that. So it's not impossible. It is possible to make friends. It's just that you need to find the right steps to make friends that you want.
So like having friends with the same mindset, same goals. For example, if you are into fitness, like maybe joining like clubs that do like fitness stuff, or if you're into data science, computer science, and stuff like that. So just like matching, I think just those tick points, like, oh yeah, you were in the same thing. So I think that way the friendship would like last long, and then you don't have to be like awkward with them. But if you, I think if you find like friends with like different goals, like one friend's like you said, one friend's like to party, the other one doesn't. So that friendship wouldn't like stay that long as well.
I mean, look, it depends. It's not like those friendships don't last, right? But there has to be a common point, right? If you are both in, suppose, like the same program, and you guys go like everywhere together, then that is a common point. Even if you guys are like different personalities, it'll still work out because you meet sometimes, right? You need to find a common point of interest. If there is none, or if there's like, if you haven't found it, there's no way to kind of interact with them, right, randomly. Like, what do you even talk about? So that is the kind of thing, like you need that point of interest to actually reach back or like connect with them over the long run.
And I think first year is like the one thing that most students should like notice about, because I think for me, I didn't attended any events like, because I lived in CMH, which is like super lively because they keep on having events like the
Yeah.
Dawn organize a bunch of stuff as well. For me, because I was like introverted for most of my life, I mean, yeah, you have to like push yourself out there, attend those events, talk to the people, because I think no one's gonna like start talking with you. I mean, someone would,
Yeah.
but you should be the first one to like make the initiative.
It's kind of both ways. I mean, you have to start the initiative, but you can't just talk to everyone right out of blue. Like you can't say, "Hey, what's up?" Okay, so you need a sort of like common point. So you need to see, okay, I know this guy. I don't know his like who is beside him. So I'll go talk to this guy, and then he'll introduce me to him. So it's kind of like you have to find points of connections. Finding the first point of connection is always the hardest because you don't know anyone, right? And that's where, like, when you're coming to Waterloo or let's say to any university, and you have to find people who are joining from, like, let's say from your city or like from another city, but you just find them on WhatsApp or like Facebook, anywhere, Instagram, and then you're like, hey, I'm joining as well, it's nice to meet you, and you connect them over the phone, and then once you come in person, everyone is like, hey, I know this guy, this. So it's very different, but yeah, the idea is you need at least a point of connection to kind of make more friends.
What about someone who wasn't like that much social in his first year? What would you say to them? Like if it's like
Ye-
second and third year and
yeah.
co-op's like about to start.
Yeah, I think then it's all about like this clubs thing because there's no other kind of opportunity for you, right? I mean, yeah, you go to class, you can try to find people who are like in your course, you study with them, then you can grow close, right? But uh, like that is an option. But like the point is, you need something to outlast that class. Once that class is done, your friendship might be done. So it's like you need something else, like they're working on your company, or like let's say you both have the same goals or anything, like you like football or something, and then everyone can talk about it. So yeah, it's kind of like that.
Yeah, like you collaborated on a project for like
Yeah,
class
yeah,
specifically,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that ended. So we touched on friends, but what about the dating scene at UW with the heavy workloads and the competitive environment? Is it tough to date here? I think that's like one of the most like questions that is like asked by students and people who
Uh-huh.
are like applying to UW.
I mean, to be honest, not gonna lie, I haven't had a girlfriend ever, so not the best person to ask about dating scene. But I have friends who are dating, who have dated, and have like a couple of girlfriends here, or like had a couple, like, not two timing, but like at
Playboy and
different
stuff.
times, at different times of their life. So yeah, I mean, it's not impossible. It's not. It's not that hard. The problem again is like even a relationship is like it starts with a friendship, right? I mean, okay, some people don't start with a friendship, but like a long term relationship has to have some sort of a friendship, right? I mean, you can't just be all about relationship without talking about something, right? So the thing is, for that, it's still the same thing, right? I mean, you need to meet people, you need to talk with them, and kind of build a bond there, right? So again, the 4 month thing is a major roadblock, and you have to kind of get to that sort of relationship where it's like you might not be together physically all the time, but you can still maintain it, right? You can still talk over the phone, and that's fine, right? So that kind of relationship you have to develop, and it's not easy. Okay, a lot of people, as soon as like they go on co-ops, and it's like, yeah, what do we do? 4 months, we're not going to see each other, stuff like that. So it's really difficult to maintain that sort of difficulty, especially. And after that, you have to come to like you have to think about uh, the academics, right? I mean, it is like once you're a study term and you have like 4 to 5 courses, it is not easy to kind of get free time. Like max you can get something on the weekend, but over the weekdays, if you're stuck in assignments or you're stuck on projects studying for the exams, like you might not find time to date, especially if you're looking for co-ops, because then it's like you have to give a bunch of interviews, you have to prepare your resume, do lead code. There's a bunch of things that you're trying to do at once. So it's difficult to have that work-life balance sort of thing, where it's like you're working on your goals, but you have a girlfriend or like a boyfriend and you want to work with him or her. So it's especially challenging in terms of that, but it is possible. A lot of people do it. So again, it's not impossible, especially like if you're not in CS, or like if you're like on a lighter course load, let's say AFM or something, or arts, then it's definitely easier. But yeah, you get my point, right? I mean,
Yeah, and I think a lot of like other students, like the students who like come in, they also like are like a lot of like students because they're already like paying tuition and stuff. They are stingy that clubs also have like fees. I think computer science club, data science club, like all of the clubs have fees as well. But I think what they don't realize is you get like a lot of stuff out of it, like their free foods, and that kind of like pays up for itself and it even more.
I mean the fees is like $5-10 something per month. It's not that expensive per term, sorry, actually. And like you're trying to understand is that they give you a bunch of resources. Like CS clubs give you their CS server, so you can host stuff there. You can deploy bots or anything there, and it's free because you're already paying for it, right? So it's extremely cheap for what they're giving you, and it's all about like uh, and it gives you an opportunity to kind of do a lot of things, to meet people. So yeah, it's definitely a great investment into what they're giving.
Looking back, what advice would you give your first year self? What should students definitely do and what should they absolutely avoid?
So first year, right? Yeah, I mean, you have to. What advice I would give myself is kind of balancing everything. Like how, like in my first, second year, I was kind of overexcited a bunch of times. Like I would overcommit to a lot of things. Like let's say I'm joining one club, I'll join the other club, and then I'll try to do all three of things together. I'll so if I'm working on an assignment, I'll try to get like the bonus thing, or like I'll go like the extra mile for like a bunch of like a few things that few numbers that are not gonna matter at all. And then I'm gonna like say my friends are going somewhere. I'll be like, oh, I'll go to everyone. And what happens is like you get packed. So in my first and second years, especially, I think I just tried to do a lot of things, and a lot of things wouldn't have mattered if I said no, but I just did it, and that gets you like burnt out a lot. And what happens after that is like you just avoid doing it because like yeah, oh, I did it like it's done. So that kind of thing. It's like you have to balance it out. You can't just say yes to everything and everyone. You have to kind of find that balance where it's like, okay, I can do this regularly without any issues. It's not like I'm doing this once and then never going to like let's say I'm going on a trip like to with my friends. I want to do that after this as well, right? So if I go like two places in like 1 week, then it puts a lot of pressure on your academic stuff, right? So it's all about like finding that balance. And what you have to definitely avoid is,
Not saying no to everyone, like not saying yes to everyone.
yeah, I
Like,
mean that is
yeah,
my advice. So I guess you can go with that. Yeah.
because I feel like a lot of like students who are just like getting into the whole friendship kind of thing, like they're making like new friends. They don't want to like hurt their feelings, but they don't realize that they're hurting their academics by just like not hurting their feelings and the academics that they paid for actually. So yeah, I think it's like okay to say no a couple of times. I don't think the friends would like take it to
Hmm.
themselves. So focusing on your academics, but like if you have like an assignment or like a course load that you're working on, like it's okay to say no to friends. I think they, if they're like your true friends, they would understand about it.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. It's not about like it's not that they won't understand or anything. It's fine. The question is like you have to balance it out. Like if you're, let's say if you have to go out as really like you want to, and you can manage the assignment, but just because you say nah, I'm focusing, I'm working, and you won't go, that is also a bit stupid because then it's like, I mean, you could have done it if you wanted, but you avoided it, and now people are like, okay, so he doesn't like to go, and we
Yeah.
won't ask him. So it's a balancing act. You have to see when it's possible, when it's.
What are some of the important or impactful CS courses you would recommend taking?
So most of them are mandatory if you're like in CS. So you're going to take the fundamentals to get an idea. For the courses that are not mandatory, I would. So I've taken a few of them that I've really enjoyed. One was 346. It's app dev. So it's not a general course where it's like you have an exam, you have midterms, stuff like that. It's all about like one project. You make an app, a desktop app, and you do that for 4 months with a group. So it's really chill, and you get to actually work on a full stack app. So if you're like, let's say, have a co-op next term, you can put that on a project, and it's really helpful. So that is one thing I'll recommend. Other one is definitely one that I took this term, concurrency is 343. It is really important because it teaches you the fundamentals of like what are you doing, uh, especially anything related to real world, because in the real world everything is concurrent, right? Nothing is like so concurrent is like you're doing multiple tasks at once, and like you're running a code and you're running it on like several threads at once. And it is extremely important for anything in real world because everything scales, like there are thousands or millions of users for everything, and you have to serve every one of them. So it is really important to take like this kind of course because like the concepts are everywhere, right? I mean, if you have to learn concurrency because it's going to be important in like a lot of other courses that you do. Another one I'll talk about is networks because it's like the fundamentals of kind of how the net is like working, how that information is transferred, and it's going to be used everywhere. again. So those kind of courses, they're like teaching you, like you can do them on YouTube also. It's not like you have to take a course. But the point is like when you try to learn that kind of course on YouTube or anywhere, you don't remember it. You just like you see a couple of videos and you're like, okay, I'm done. Yeah, I can't do this because it's like really dry. But these courses are kind of your fundamentals on helping you become a better engineer. Because if you're just looking to build something, right, you can build it without these things, okay, without knowing anything, and it's work. But to grow, you have to kind of know these things because without this, you can't make an architectural decision or you can't make a system decision, right, without figuring these out. Other one probably distributed, which I took this term as well. Really helpful because again, a lot of systems are distributed, especially to serve to a lot of people in different parts of the world. So it is really important to kind of understand the core fundamentals of that and talk about. One of them is like the crypto privacy course that they have is I think 453 or sorry 49. Uh, it's a key course because I mean it's not that important to be honest, but it's kind of fun. They teach you about cryptography. They teach you about a lot of like different kind of encryptions, that kind of stuff. And the main idea is like they instead of just like teaching you in terms of like how it's done, they actually let you do it. So in like the assignments, they'll give you like a server where you have to like crack the password or something, and you have to like get in and try to run and execute a script or something. So it's pretty fun. It's kind of a different experience, and you get to kind of understand, how the exploits are actually working. So yeah, that is also really fun.
So you were also a strategy team lead for Midnight Sun and led the CodyBot dev team at the UWCSC club. Did these design teams clubs help you professionally and socially?
Yeah, yeah, a lot, a lot. So I think the key thing here is like initially I joined both of these places as members, and I was just trying to kind of make an impact, especially in like my first and second years. And as people kind of graduated or left, I kind of grew to like that position, and it is really fun because the point is like especially in something like strategy team lead for like Midnight Sun, right? Midnight Sun is building like a solar car, so it is really different from like the software engineering stuff you're doing because it's a like so it's a lot of hardware and you're trying to build the software for that hardware, right?
It gets into the EC kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
so you have to like interact with ECE people a lot, mechanical people a lot, and it's a really different experience because before that I had worked with hardware a lot, like anything, and there you go and like people are trying to work on like a Arduino chip or like trying to code something. It's a very different experience. If you talk to them, you can understand what they're trying to do with the car, what is like their objective, and how's it going and everything. So it broadens your perspective, and it gives you the opportunity to like because you are not familiar with the environment, right? You are just leading your own team, but what you're trying to do is you're trying to work with them and see like how we can improve the software to work with their hardware and that kind of stuff. So it really helped me kind of understand how to interact with like a lot of hardware people, and that really helped me especially in one of my co-ops. So in like Motive, I was working on like close to like the hardware kind of people because I was like because it's a truck kind of company where it's like they're building uh, hardware for like tracking fleets, fleet management, and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of people who are working on hardware there as well, and it's interesting to kind of understand like how stuff is done, and you having some idea and like how to talk to them. Podibot again really helpful because I was actually leading like a full time I was like working as you can understand like a team lead for a software engineer. It's like you have 10 people working on a team. Everyone is like putting a lot of code out there, and you're trying to approve a lot of PRs. You're trying to plan tickets and that kind of stuff. So it gives you sort of that kind of an experience where it's more about like you're working with 10 software developers and how you're going to lead them, how you're going to assign tasks, how you're going to make sure your quarter goals are met or stuff like that. So that is a very different experience as well, and that is what you're going to need as you grow in your engineering career and you're like trying to get into like a team lead or a management position, because those are the things that you're going to do. So it is sort of like a trial run for your future jobs and co-op experiences. So yeah, I think the clubs are really helpful and they give you a lot of insight. And if you like, I wasn't able to go anywhere with strategy because like they didn't qualify a lot of times. But if you are able to build something out of it, right? If you try to build like a robot or like anything, any cool project with it, I think that is a massive bonus because it just shows that your efforts led to something, and it's amazing to have that kind of a achievement under your belt.
Yeah, so I think both of these were like different kind of experience. Once you work with like NEC engineers that you would normally not work with in the software industry. Then the other one would be the Codebot developer, where I'm assuming you have to uh, like approve other people's code, like make sure the test passed before they kind of like integrated with the main server and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so you've also done hackathons. Are they worth the hype? Should students focus their energy there, or would you say that there are other things that students should focus their energy on?
So it really depends on like your goal. So if you're trying to, let's say, learn coding, right, uh, or like trying to build something, uh, a cool project, it's really not that important now because of the AI. Before this, I think hackathons were really important because I did them to get like a few projects under my belt. I won like a small award as well, and that kind of experience like gives you confidence on like that you are a good software developer, because before like your first or second like job, right, you don't know anything. Okay, you don't know if what you're doing, like what you're learning, is actually like going to translate into anything. So once you start building a few projects, right, and you get that confidence, and especially in hackathon, where it's like you can join with like a few friends, or you can go with like 3 4 random people, and you kind of enjoy working with them, then it's a really different experience. So like, and you get to understand like how things are built from scratch. So it's really fun. But with AI coming in, right, I think the focus has shifted from the coding perspective to the idea, to like how your idea is going to build into a real product, because coding everyone can just vibe code it. So I think now it's about like you're building a product, not a project. And how is that product going to be, like, have you validated the idea? Is it really going to work for anyone? And if it's going to work, what is kind of the future prospects of that? Is your implementation of that really up to anything? I mean, if you built a prototype, like how good is the prototype, like is it working? So those are the kind of things that kind of come in. And if you're into anything related to entrepreneurship or anything like that, I think hackathons are really important. But for pure software dev, I don't know if they're important anymore, because the focus has shifted from building a project to a product. At the start of your internships or like anything, you're building you want to build projects to get the software experience. But yeah, if you as you grow into your career, the projects need to be converted to products, because you cannot grow as a software developer by just thinking about project. You have to think about, okay, how are we going to build anything for a client? Like my client requires these specifications. This is like the thing that they need. How I'm going to build that. So it's a it's a very different experience. Like you have to kind of think about that. But yeah, especially for anything like you're trying to do with like your first and second job, I think it gives you a solid opportunity to just like win anything basically, because it kind of showcases that you're doing something. And especially if you meet with recruiters there or any kind of personnel from the company, and you can form a connection, then I think that is a really good experience, because uh, it can translate to your job opportunities as well.
I had another question from that. So a lot of like other students also told me, I don't know if this happens or not,
Mhm.
I mean, I know like you can build connections with like people who are like the sponsors there, but do like are the recruiters there able to hire some people who won the hackathon on the spot, or is it just like
It's not on the spot. I mean, it depends. I mean, if you're like, if a product is like out of this world, right? I think it has happened. Like people just like the poaching the client or like the student there. But a lot of times it's like not about just like getting a job offer there. It's about building that connection to translate into a referral. So if you talk with them for a while and then you're working on a project and you send them a message, okay, I need some help on this, or you have a resume and say, okay, can you help me review this? I mean, I need some help. So those are the kind of things that are going to tell them, okay, you're working on this thing and our project is this. So if you're kind of like the thought process aligns, if your uh, if your technical capabilities align, then they will be interested in hiring you, right? I mean, who wants to hire a random person
yeah,
over someone they know? So it's like that. It's not about you trying to get a job offer on the spot. It's about you getting an opportunity to have a connection. Because if you're just applying uh, through an application, right? It's not easy. I mean, there are like thousands of people that are going to apply for that same job. So even if they like you met someone once, it's not going to help you anywhere. You have a constant connection with them. If you're trying to like, and it's just like you don't need to tell them every time, okay, I want the job. It's just about having a normal conversation a bunch of times so that they remember you. And then when you're getting a job, you can say them, hey, I applied to this. It'd be really helpful if you can share my resume with the hiring manager or whatever. That yeah, go from there. So uh, hackathon gives you like the first opportunity to kind of have a positive connection instead of like just randomly DMing them on LinkedIn. So, yeah, I think it's pretty important in that kind of aspect.
yeah, but what would you say like what how can you like build that constant connection with the employer or like the recruiter or like any person who's like working in that specific company, let's say Amazon or Google, like what things you
Yeah,
can like talk about?
yeah. So as you go higher up, right, it always gets challenging, and like a bunch of people have different kind of things. So if you like, let's say I had a chat with a recruiter on like Facebook on one of the hackathons. I got the LinkedIn, I connected with them. I tried to reach out a couple of times, there was no response. So that can happen, right? I mean, if people are just like not interested or they're not there for uh, you know, they don't check LinkedIn, or even they check LinkedIn, they are only there to talk to people who they know. So it's not going to work. But there are some people who like to just who have interest, right? I mean, let's say you had a chat with someone and they're like interested in this new technology that's coming in, and you are kind of looking into it as well. So you tell them some updates, you go to them and you're like, oh, say, check this out. This new project is pretty cool. Or someone is building this. I'm thinking I'll build myself. And you guys can he'll be like, oh, okay, okay. I think you should do this or like something like that. And it goes from there, right? So uh, professional relationships are slightly different from your casual friendships, where it's like your point of interest is towards your career more than just like the random stuff. But even if you have some random stuff, like my one of my coworkers is like really interested in cricket, and I'm really interested in cricket. So we chat a few times on Instagram, ready to like cricket matches and stuff like that as well. So it really depends. Again, it's all about like finding that point of interest and like you guys chatting together rather than just it being all about like yeah, you have to be a bit more formal because you're like you have to reach that informality, but you just have to have some sort of a you have to find that common point of interest in your first conversation, and then go from there.
Yeah, because on hackathon, since the person's already in person, there's like much it's much easier to build that connection because it's only you and the person talking. With LinkedIn, because if they're a recruiter or like a company like a big tech company, there would be like a possibility like a lot of people have like talked with them and tried to like make conversations, but they don't have like that much amount of time to like reply to every single one of them.
Yeah, 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 that is obviously true, especially because like in in person they can see your body language, right? They can understand if you're excited or not excited about anything. On text, anyone can say anything, right? Half of your messages are generated by AI. So it's not, you don't get that personal feel uh, when you're like just chatting. And most people just like don't check LinkedIn a lot. I mean, I check max like once 2 or 3 days. So it's like you're sending a message and you see after 3 days. It's not the same.
I think in hackathons when there's like the vibe coding concept that we were talking about. I mean, yeah, the AI is getting like super good, but I don't think it's like reached the point yet because to be like the most perfect. Like if it's like a software developer, yeah, he would like take much more time in terms of coding a product. In terms of like if you take like anti-gravity or Claude, that would code the stuff pretty much fast. But I think AI also have like the glitches that the app kind of like crashes if you like add too much prompts and don't like because AI doesn't like keep track like what mistakes might arise or like something might crash.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like vibe coding itself is a pretty interesting topic because uh, the AI is not perfect. It has a lot of flaws. It's not going to give you the perfect product. It's all about like you building it step by step and checking every step to make sure it did it correctly. So yeah, there's a bunch of issues with that. But a vibe coding app is still like if you kind of build it step by step, if you follow the best practices, it is going to be extremely fast as compared to like you coding it out yourself without the AI or like without let's say vibe coding is like you building on prompts, right? You're not actually changing the code that much. Whereas like in normal coding, it's like you're actually coding it out, but using AI to kind of autocomplete or like write a few pieces of code that you can't write. So there's kind of a difference there. Uh, if you're using like vibe coding, right, 100%, where like you're just prompting it, mistakes are more possible. But if you follow the steps, if you like have a claude.md or like a skills.md or whatever, you have like configured everything, you've followed, you've given it the exact steps on like how to do things, 99% is gonna be correct and it's gonna be pretty good. It's gonna be pretty fast. So yeah, it's a balancing act,
Yeah, because
but yeah.
yeah, there was also like this joke going around in the tech industry just because like the Claude came out and a lot of like people rather than like coding on their own, they were using like the tokens. And so I think there was the joke was like a person came out of the office and the supervisor told him like since you're using like this much amount of tokens, we're we're changing your title from like software engineer to like a prompt engineer because that's what you're doing. And we're also like reducing your salary because it's
Yeah.
not that much hard.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely. If you overuse the like, it is so easy to overuse Claude and stuff because the tools are really good. But so if you like get using them, you can use them for anything. Okay, you can even use them to text messages and stuff, which you can do on your phone. But you'll just say Claude, reply back. So you do something like that, right? I mean, obviously, it's going to take up a lot of tokens for anything, and with like the usage limits per it's like per day you can easily run out and then you can overuse it. So uh, yeah, it is really like you have to kind of understand, okay, like as much as AI is good, right, it's not going to help you for anything, like for all the things, I'm sorry. So you have to learn from the AI, like you have to understand what it's going to do, the approach, and then see if like that approach is correct or not. And you can use it for implementing it, but if you use it for like just you give it a task and see, oh, okay, do it, it's going to be incorrect. So yeah, especially at like a company level, because like the code bases are massive and it's going to be really challenging if it's not building it from scratch. If the code is already there, 90% of the time Claude or Cursor or anything is not going to give you the correct answer.
Yeah, because I think if you build it from scratch, the AI knows how the whole code works. But if you're building something that's like within the app, it because it doesn't know how everything was like implemented, it's like bound to make mistakes.
Exactly. Especially if something abstracted away or like there's like a bunch of classes with like similar names and they like it doesn't understand the code flow 100% of the times. So yeah, it's really challenging in that kind of an aspect.
Let's talk about the job market, co-op, and industry. How do you tackle the co-op search in the current job market versus when you first started out?
Again. So uh, I think Waterloo does a really good job with the Waterloo Works kind of system. It gives you a lot of opportunities to apply, and you are already kind of ahead of a lot of people who are not in Waterloo because they're like applying to that, like a general post, and it's like a thousands of employ like people here, like there are 400 500 people max. So it's definitely a lot easier on applying through Waterloo Works and stuff like that. And you can apply externally; they're not stopping you. So I think the co-op search uh, through Waterloo is pretty good. But yeah, in terms of the job market, right? I think 2021, 2022, 2023, kind of the peak job market years, especially I think 2022, where it was like everyone was like hiring a lot. So you had like a lot of jobs coming in, and I was in my first year at that time, and I saw like bunch of people getting Google in their senior
Oh, wait,
years.
oh, right.
So not me, but a lot of senior people are getting it. So I was very excited, that I'll also get something once I get to like my third, fourth year. And then I think by the end of 2023, everything kind of crashed. And 2024, 2025, I think bit on the down low. It has definitely improved now. I think 2026 is one of the top years after the low, but it's still pretty bad because they're having mass layoffs everywhere. Um, but yeah, AI definitely makes it easier to have to find jobs, to streamline your resume and stuff like that. uh, Gives you like the few projects that you can use. But at the end of the day, I think it's all about have connections in terms of like getting referrals, and in terms of resume, you want to showcase that you have an ability to build something, to kind of like think about a product, come up with the requirements, and then build something that people actually going to use, not just like a side project. And having anything that is deployed in real world is definitely a really important thing there. But yeah, co-op search has definitely uh, become harder, but it's still, I think it's very much doable, and a lot of people are like, I mean, 95% people get a co-op, so it's definitely possible.
Yeah, because I think like after Claude came out, after like a bunch of like AI softwares came out, the focus kind of shifted. So when firstly like people were like being used to like do stuff, now AI is doing like most of the work. So that is kind of like I think take like people like how people say like AI is taking away their jobs and stuff.
Even if you say that, right? I mean, uh, you're just making AI do your job, and I think that is fine. Like, it's not wrong. The point is, you have to showcase that whatever AI is doing, right, you are making some contribution to that. Because if people look at like your resume and see like three general projects that like AI could have just built if you just told them the project idea, then that's a problem, right? But if people are actually using your product, you've built something that you validated the product market fit, and you have actually kind of got some real users, then it doesn't matter, because you've showcased that whatever you are owning, people are using. More kind of the idea there.
There was also like another interesting question that a lot of like other students also like ask. Hot take. So should students ever consider doing like an unpaid co-op to get their foot in the door? Especially like the I think Waterloo does like the VXA program.
Hmm.
So should like students consider that?
I mean, the question here is like, do you have any other option? So let's say you don't get a job right on your first go. What is the alternative? Are you going to look for a job? Then the point is like, what have you done more? Like, you didn't get a job for the past 4 months. What have you done more that you're going to get a job in the next 4 months? Right? Nothing. You're going to work on like a project, but that doesn't really showcase anything, right? So if you do something like an unpaid co-op in that kind of situation, then it can just give you that real world experience that you need to get a co-op next term. The question here is that if you have an option, like, you should desperately try for a paid co-op, because an unpaid co-op is sort of something where you're doing free labor for, and the problem there is that you don't know your value. So you could be working, they're gonna like, the point is like for unpaid co-op, right? The manager or whoever is like supervising you for that kind of role, he is not really interested if you work or not because he's not paying you. So it's all on you to kind of do a lot of work. And even if you do that, it's not like you'll get showcased anywhere. It's like you're just doing work. So there's a lot of flaws with the unpaid co-op situation. The question here is like, if you can't get a paid co-op at all, then unpaid co-op might be a temporary solution because it gives you sort of something to put on your resume and as a work experience that you can use. But yeah, if you just think about unpaid co-ops like in general, they're really not a good idea because whatever you get paid is your value, right? It tells you like, okay, this person is willing to pay me this much for the work I'm doing. And if it's unpaid, you cannot show your value to anyone because there is nothing.
Right. So co-op pay versus company name versus learning experience. Which one do you believe is like the most important?
I get your question. I just don't think any of these like are individually important because I think like you have to find the balance here as well. Uh, Company name is something that is sort of relative in terms of, it might be a startup and it doesn't have a big name, but it's growing and it'll grow, and you can see like the potential is there in the product. So then it kind of makes sense to go there. So company name is sort of relative in terms of that. But what like a big tech company name is definitely gonna put you on the map anywhere, because like even in my last co-op, right, I met with an interviewer who was reviewing resumes, and he also told me that, if there's a big tech, Amazon, Google, anything there, I am straightforward interested in that candidate above anyone who doesn't have that. So a company name is definitely a big factor because it straight away kind of shows you like who's had it and who hasn't. Learning experience, so it is, I think, the core, because whatever, like, if even if you go to, let's say, Google of Amazon, but if you go for like a co-op there, right, you are 99% of the time you're not working on any real world product. You are just building like a side project that they had an idea, and they're like, okay, you can just build it and we don't care, and 4 months later you are like gone. So that kind of a project might, like, it will show you that you worked on Amazon internship, but that 4 months are pretty much useless because you built something that nobody's ever going to use. The question there is like, what can you gain outside of that project? So if you are able to build connections with like managers there, or like, some of your senior colleagues, and get to do something on their projects or something, then you might be able to salvage that situation on that learning experience. But if you're just working on that small side project, might not be that much of a learning experience. Co-op pay, I think, is relative. So if they're paying you shit, like if it's really bad, then even if the company and the learning opportunity is there, it's not worth it, because the problem there is that they don't value you, and whatever place doesn't value you, you shouldn't go there. But if it is reasonable, let's say like their budget is not there, and out of their budget they are paying you still a reasonable amount, that shows like they are interested in your growth and they want you to be there. So even if you have to take, let's say, a dip to like the other offer, but here you can actually be a part of the founding team, or you can be part of a an opportunity where there's a lot of potential, then it's an investment and you should take it. So it depends on like, the co-op pay is sort of relative in terms of like what the company can pay you. If the company has the budget and they're not paying you, it's not an opportunity, they just don't value you, they're looking for free sort of a, like a very cheap labor. You don't want to be that. So that is kind of where the thing is, where it's like, you want a co-op where they're paying you like because you're valuable, and uh, if there's a learning experience and there's potential, then that is obviously very important.
Yeah. So adding up on that, I think with Google, from what I like heard, they pay their employees like 30 to 40 in the Kitchener region. But I guess it makes sense because in Kitchener, if you take like housing, renting, it isn't like that much expensive if it was Google from Toronto. And then there's like companies in the States that would pay their employees like 70 to 80 Canadian dollar USD. But since it is in Los Angeles, California, so the rent and the food cost and all of that stuff kind of like eliminates that as well.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, you have to kind of look at it from like the perspective that Google is slightly different, where it's like the company name just like is toppling everything. So even if they pay you nothing and you work there for 4 months and you get like the connections and like that name on your resume, you can basically go anywhere after that. So it's a balancing thing, right? Where it's like you compromising $10, like 50 if you're 50 is I think really good. So if they give you 40 and you get the Google name, it's still worth it. So it's that kind of a thing. One thing is not important, but you have to take the entire package, then compare it to something else and make your decision.
Out of your six co-ops, which one would you say is the most important? And is it always the last one since it dictates your full-time return offer?
I mean, can't say which one is the most important. Technically, the most important one would be my first one, to be honest, because it's just that it gives you like the like once you actually get to working in a real company, it is so much different from what you imagine. Because if you are just working on your assignment, you're working on like hackathon projects or anything with your friends, you are building something from scratch, you are doing a lot of things, and it is really different from working with like senior developers, with product managers, because there the product already exists and it is massive, and you are just like this clog who's like fixing few things, who are like implementing like this small changes, and like you see that change and you're like, oh my god, this is so easy, right? It is nothing. It like you're changing like one line somewhere or like anything, and it's going to have like five it's going to have an impact five places else. So if you make a change, let's say in a backend somewhere, and another thing breaks, it is so annoying, right? So it like my first co-op was basically that kind of an experience where it's like I built something and I did something, and then you realize, oh wait, I messed four things there, so which were like not even related to my product. So it's a really important challenge to kind of understand, like how things are actually working here. The last one is definitely important. Like many people go to like their previous co-ops as well, so it's not just like that people go to the last one. But yeah, the last like since it dictated like my full-time opportunity, I think it was really important because uh, definitely got the full-time offer from that. And yeah, so
Your last one was Cresta, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So adding on that, you worked at great places like Myovision, Deloitte, Ceridian, and Motive Technologies. Why did you choose Cresta over returning to your other previous companies?
So I'll tell you about like a few of these things. So Ceridian, Deloitte, and Myovision, right? Three places I worked before this. But what I was doing is really different from what I did in Motive and Cresta. Because before that I was like a very junior developer, right? I mean, I didn't know a lot of things, and I was like, my main goals in these three internships was just like my manager giving me tasks on like small things to do and me doing them. So the three internships there is like I didn't take up a lot of challenges or like new projects on my own, and most of the time I was just like uh, fixing small tasks or like doing small things around. Motive and Cresta were two places where I took up big projects, kind of like into like 4 month projects or stuff like that, to kind of just work from scratch or like work with a senior developer who built a plan and I was implementing that design paper or like something like that. So in these two companies, I was able to kind of get an idea of like how uh, the products are built and how the teams are kind of working in general. Especially Cresta is slightly over on that list because Motive had like a lot of people on teams. So it was like even if I was working on like a project towards like my end and like the part time that I did after that, a lot of time I was working on with like bunch of people, and I was still working on like a smaller project. But in Cresta, it was like I was just soloing a project with like just a senior dev, and there were like a lot of like Cresta has like a fewer number of employees in general. So I got to understand how other processes in Cresta are working, what other teams are doing as well. So it's Motive and Cresta were like kind of the two places where I considered going back. I mean, the salary and like the full time offers from there are higher than the other three places as well. So that definitely plays
Yeah,
its
it's like
part.
a good motivation as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I feel like salary like does play a good amount of like motivation for that.
yeah.
And then there's the I think full-time job offers that you get. The pay is like relatively higher by what you were like getting as an intern.
Yeah, yeah, it's a different league entirely because as a engineer, like as a intern, your responsibilities are pretty low. Uh, like you are kind of under a full-time engineer usually, and that full-time engineer is leading the project or like whatever you're doing, and he bears the he or she is kind of bearing that responsibility for you, and you are just trying to implement them or help them. That is what you're doing most of the time. Once you become a full-time engineer, right, it is an extension of that role most of the time. But the problem there is that you get that responsibility. So if anything goes wrong, you are the owner of that, and you have to fix it. Like if a client is having a problem, if it breaks at 2 a.m., you have to wake up at 2 a.m. and fix it because the clients are going to be mad, right? So it's that kind of a ownership thing which comes into play with these kind of things.
Firms.
Yeah. So they give you the money, they give you the stake, the stocks, but it's all like you have to actually be able to, like you have to take that ownership into account when working the full time.
Yeah, I didn't knew about that. Like if some of your products like break, I know like you're responsible for that, but having to like wake up
Yeah,
late
yeah,
at night.
it's like there's on call roles. So
Yeah,
like you have
that's what
the
I'm like talking about
yeah,
because like
yeah, because you have like yeah, you can have like like you have to have a certain number of days every year to kind of do this on call. They'll page you in the middle of the night, so your phone will kind of just like vibrate like a fire alarm, and you have to wake up and see, oh, okay, it broke. What do we do? Because like if something breaks, right, and if you don't fix it for an hour or something, they're gonna have a team meeting about it, and they'll be like, okay, what's the issue now? Like it's not like you haven't fixed it. So is it because the issue is multi-team, or is it like a big issue that you can't solve on your own, or did you just not see it? So like that's kind of the thing where it comes in into things like even if you build something, but uh, you have to still keep ownership of that, and you still have to fix it. So
like late at night. So your work life balance isn't like that good, I'm assuming, because of that. Or
yeah, but this is not going to happen every day, right?
uh,
It's once in a while. Like if it's breaking every day, then that's
that's
a
on you. Yeah,
fundamental
yeah.
issue, right? I mean, that's an issue of your product. You have to fix it in the day. But if it's like once in a while, anything can happen, right? I mean, you had that Amazon outage a few months
Yeah.
back, and that broke everything in the middle of the night. So it's not like you can do anything. That some these things can happen, and once they happen, you are awake, and you know you can't do anything because if Amazon's not working, how are you working, right? You're dependent on that. So but the problem is like you have to see, okay, what can we do in the situation? Can we migrate some things? Can we run some things on local servers, or can we do we have some options here? And if we do, we apply them. If we don't, well, we just tell clients, okay, it's not our fault, please understand, stuff like that.
For companies in the US, the tech salaries are famously high, but so is the cost of living. How would you compare the US job market to the Canadian job market?
The job market is an entire different league again, because most of the companies that even I have worked on are they are not Canadian companies by default. They're US companies who are either I'm working remotely or they have Canadian offices. So it's like I'm technically my job market is still US, but so Canadian companies itself are few. They are there. I mean Waterloo as well. You have Well Simple, you have Fair, you have these kind of companies that are Shopify. So these are good companies, right? They're pretty good, but the salaries and the cost of living for like US like if you're actually working there or like in that kind of an office like in the SF office or like in New York office, they're extremely high because because of the cost of living and because of the general average salaries there. I mean if you look at something like SF, right, the average salary there is above 250 or like around 300. So a junior person will get close to 200 or like 180 something like
Wait,
that, right?
hourly?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
They're extremely high. So because and that leads to that cost of living situation where it's like uh, SF and New York are ridiculously expensive in terms of like the cost. So they have to kind of pay you. Do I prefer? Really depends. In the summers, I prefer Canada any day.
Yeah,
I
the
think
winters
it's,
are the worst part.
but yeah, if you get to the snow, I think I prefer US. But yeah, I don't think I have a choice in that because like yeah, I'm working in Canada, so it's fine. But I can manage.
Yeah, the other question was like on this. So is the higher US pay worth it when you factor in the expenses, and which country do you actually prefer for your lifestyle, US or Canada? Because I think if you're an intern, it's like much harder if you're on lease as well. Like if you're a student on lease, like if you are have it like a property, and then you have to like first you sublet the property and see if you actually like get the price that you actually paying for, and then having to like move all your stuff to the location that you're working in and setting the whole thing up there, and then like coming back here to like studies and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, moving is pretty hard. I mean, I haven't. So I actually didn't go to US for like the motive because it's for remote. But people do actually move, and it's really hard because you have to like put all your stuff everywhere. You have to sublet the place. You have to find a place there. You have to fly with like you can't fly with everything, so you take like whatever luggage you can and try to survive 4 months there. So it is really challenging to kind of move around. And I mean, is the pay worth it? Probably because people do, and it gives you like they give you the higher pay for like you actually coming in there. They'll give you some living expenses as well. They'll give you like some house stipend as well. So there's a bunch of things that they give you, and uh, more money is always good. You can't
Yeah.
deny that. But yeah, I mean, which country do I prefer? Uh, I mean, the culture is mostly the same. I don't think the lifestyle itself is really different between US and Canada. I think like it's not like if I stay in US I'll do something different. I'll probably be doing the same things that I'm doing in Canada. So
Besides like the weather part, majority of the
yeah,
stuff is same.
yeah. I
Because
mean,
like yeah, Los Angeles has like a pretty good weather, like in the spring,
yeah,
and Canada has like a pretty good, not like a pretty good weather in the winters.
exactly. But overall, I think the lifestyles are very similar. So I don't think.
Working at Cresta is also like a huge win. And have you ever felt imposter syndrome stepping into a position that most students are fighting to get? Like in general, like in university life, have you ever felt like the imposter syndrome? Like,
Hits you a lot of times, especially in like let's say you meet a few people, right, and they're discussing some topic about tech or like any technology or whatever, and you don't know anything about it. It is like you get this dread. It's like, oh, I don't know anything. What am I doing here? And like, do I deserve to be here? So it's a very challenging thing. I encountered this thing in like competitive programming, especially. I kind of tried to go for a competition from a Waterloo team, so they had these trials, and you had to like they give you like 5 coding questions that you had to do, and they were all like code forces kind of level where it's like uh, the algorithms are crazy, and uh, you have to use a lot of math to kind of solve them. And I had never done it. I've done LeetCode, which is not Code Forces level, and I've I mean usually I'm focused more on the industry kind of thing, where it's like I'm building software rather than the competitive programming. And I went there, and people were just like, doing all these things. It's like they're solving these equations and trying to like write the program, and I'm looking at them. I'm like, dude, what have I done with my life? Like, what am I doing? So it's a imposter syndrome is real, but you have to kind of understand that you have limited time, and yes, people are smarter than you. Some people are 10x engineers that can do everything that you can't. But the reality is like you have to understand like your kind of your experiences, your strengths, and look into like trying to be the best in that. Okay, like leave the 10x engineers out, because even if they are really good, right, they are not like, it's about being like in, especially in the job market, like in a job, right, where you're working with like 10, 15, or like 20 engineers in a team. A 10x engineer is not actually good, because like usually they'll do something, right, they'll finish their task very fast, or like they'll do something amazing, and then the other people are not able to understand it, or they're not able to kind of uh, get to that. And if you're like working really on like the deviant side of it, it is not really good in terms of the company, like the culture. So the like a 10x engineer is really good if they have that balance. If they don't, like if they're like super technical, or like they have a super like their way of doing it, usually it is not a good fit for a company, because they're looking for people who are relatively like good, that can do their things without breaking that team apart. So it's not like being like that good is actually that important in terms of, but yeah, having that knowledge is like, if you like if you're just not good at anything, and if you're trying to get into it, it is going to be hard.
How would you like deal with imposter syndrome, like if you get it? Because as you mentioned, like you
I
got it
mean,
like a
yeah,
couple of
yeah. So,
times.
but like the point is like, if you're, let's say, like I am not good at computer programming, I realize that uh, I'm not going to get anywhere with it. So I'm not going to
Oh
focus on
yeah.
it, right? I mean, I'm going to focus on getting my jobs and looking for interviews and stuff like that. You don't focus on stuff you are not going to, that is not going to advance your career, right? I mean, computer programming is good in terms of like building an analytical mind, being able to solve math, and like those problem solving things are important, but they're important if you're going into that kind of a field.
And you're
If
not.
you're not, so it doesn't matter.
What are your strategies for cold emailing, prepping for interviews, reaching out of on LinkedIn, and optimize your GitHub or resume? Let's
So,
take it in like parts.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, earlier, like before AI, I think it's very different. Now it's I think changed a lot. Cold emailing, I think so. Look, I don't usually cold email. It's very rare for me to cold email. What I'll do is like I'll have met someone in person, or like seen someone on Slack or something, and then I'll reach out to them saying, "Hey, I saw you did this. I want to know how you did it." So the question here is like, you need an objective to talk with them, and that objective in your first email, it cannot just be I'm looking for a job, or basically I'm looking for a favor, because it's very weird, right? If you just say I'm looking for a referral, or like I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that, they don't know what to do. Like people have reached out to me. I was an intern, and they're reaching out for, hey, give me a referral. Like, dude, I'm an intern. What do you want me to do? I can't give you any referrals here. I'm looking for a full time offer myself. So it's like, it's very weird, right? But if they ask you for, let's say, hey, how's your role? Okay, how are you feeling? How was the interview? What did you do? You have something to talk about, right? So that is the kind of cold emailing. The cold emailing idea is like, you are reaching out to someone to build a connection. You're not reaching out to just get a favor out of them. Okay, once you have chatted with them for a while, like 2 3 days or something, 5 days, it really depends. But and they have that kind of a role where it's like they can give you a referral, then you might ask them, hey, I'm applying there. Do you know anyone? Like, do anything about this? But just like asking for a favor straight away is not the way for cold emailing. Prepping for interviews, I think it's there are like a couple of key things. So you have to understand what kind of an interview it is it a technical interview, is it a HR round, is it a like a system design, is it like just a general manager talk or like engineer talk, and you have to prepare for that. So first thing you have to do is like try to get like an idea of the type of interview there is. Look for reviews on, let's say, Glassdoor or anywhere, kind of Reddit. You can go through a lot of things and try to understand, like how people have done in this interview in the past. You might reach out to the recruiter or like whoever the person is on LinkedIn as well. Like I connected with them, chatted with them for a couple of things, but they won't tell you the questions and stuff, but they'll just be like friendly, kind of hi. Uh, and then the prepping for interview itself, it really depends on the four types. So if it's a lead code or a technical thing, right, you go look for that company, look for like the questions they ask if it exists. Like for some companies, if they're like not that highly listed or they're not or they're pretty recent, they won't have that kind of thing. So it's you're going in a bit blind. So you go for like the mid and high lead code questions, just general. If it's like a known company, if they've done interviews for like 3 4 years, 5 years, they will have something. So you can probably go with that. uh, if it's like a system design or like just a your resume kind of discussion, then you look into a different kind of aspect where it's like, why are you building a product, what are the requirements, how you thought of this, how you came up with like solving the technical problems, right? That kind of a questioning. So you prepare for that. And the best tool for that is something like Gemini or like AIs, because they can kind of review a bunch of things and they can ask you follow-up questions in that. And that is like, I think, really important. Reaching out on LinkedIn, pretty similar to cold emailing. It's like you just need to find a topic. GitHub or resume, I think, I mean, resume, especially AI, is again massive help, because you need to, like, with resume, the thing is like there's this automated machines like that are parsing a resume and they're
The ATS
coming up with
scanners.
the ADS, and they're going to come up with like whatever tech stacks you worked on, whatever the keywords are there, whatever things have you done, and they're going to kind of grade you on that. It is going to happen. Your resume just might get rejected by the ATS, and in that case, the recruiter won't even see it. So you need to pass that, and to pass that you have to optimize your resume for every job. Okay, I know it's hard. If you apply to 1,000 places and have 1,000 resumes, not easy, but it is important, because the question there is like how like you need to showcase what you're doing for that role, for those specific things, like whatever the tech stack is and whatever they are expecting out of you. You have to kind of highlight that, and to do that, uh, you have to, like, you can use AI. I use AI a lot for these kind of things, where it's like I'll just post the job, tell them, okay, these are my experiences, the list of them, and we need to kind of mix and match. Okay, so it's not like you need like you can only have a certain amount of resume. It's not like you can create 1,000 different versions of your resume, because there are like not enough
Yeah.
things to add. But usually what will happen is like you'll have 5 6 resumes, and you can probably place a job in like one of them, and you can mix and match that. Optimizing your GitHub is a bit trickier, because they can view everything that you've done. That is public. The private things they're not going to see. But um, so regularly kind of doing something is definitely helps. I don't I like to be honest, I don't commit that regularly, so I can't say much. My GitHub is probably not that good. But yeah, I think the key there is like how much you are working on the side. like doing projects and stuff like that.
For a first year trying to land their first co-op, how much should they prioritize building complex projects versus grinding lead code?
Oh, you should 100% prioritize the projects. Like the projects are going to help you so much more in your first co-op with the lead, apart from lead code, because nobody is actually expecting you to do that well on lead code. Going after first year, you might not know a lot of lead code, and people will not ask you like that much. Max they're gonna ask you is like a easy medium sort of thing, where it's like uh, grinding lead code is good. It's not that you don't do it, right? But your focus should be on the projects. Your focus should be on getting some work experience outside of the jobs, like a design team, a club, or something like that, just to have shown people that you can commit to something and you can do it for a while and you can do something technical. So that kind of thing is more important, especially for a first co-op uh, going in, because you get to kind of show people that you can do a lot of stuff. And mostly what the first co-ops are about is like they'll give you a chance. They're not hoping for any miracles. Like they know that it's your first co-op, so not going to like you're not a genius, or like, I mean, you are not a genius yet, but what they're hoping for is like you can commit to something and you can do it for 4 months. Like you can follow steps, follow instruction, and kind of understand how the team works. And lead code comes in with your like the second or third or fourth co-ops, and especially now with AI, there a lot of companies are moving away from lead code as
Because of the
well.
yeah.
So, I mean, these projects are going to help you more if you as and the point is like you have to understand these projects. Like if you're vibe coding them without understanding, then that is also a problem. So, yeah,
Because if an interviewer asks like how'd you do this and why'd you do that,
yeah,
then you're at a like a point of like like blanking out because you don't know like why the AI did
because
that.
you didn't build.
Yeah. Maintained a 3.9 GPA, won a 15K scholarship, led student teams, and built tons of software. Seriously, how do you manage like all of that with?
I mean, I burnt out, as I told you. So it's not, yeah, it's really tricky to kind of build everything, and the question is like you balancing stuff out. But yeah, especially once you're starting out, right, and you see a lot of your friends, a lot of people around you are all, going that extra mile. They're like in my first, second, or third years, like every day it's like you go to DC or you go to MC and you're working. So if you're doing assignments, you're not doing assignments, you're doing lead code. If you're not doing lead code, you're working on a project. So the entire day was just trying to build something, trying to do something. And that you see people around you doing that and you try to do it yourself, and that is what happens, and like that leads to good results, like because everyone is kind of doing a lot of things. And if you're in that environment, 95% of the time you won't get burnt out just from that, because the feeling of burnt out comes when you're like you're stretched too thin, and then what happens is like people around you are not doing it anymore, and then you're like, oh, I'm not doing it either. So it's like if you have that kind of environment where the people around you are also contributing or they're also working, then you will have that constant motivation to do the work.
Yeah, I think with Waterloo, that's like the good part because like you see a lot of like people getting software developer jobs in like the big tech,
Yeah, yeah,
and they're like working a lot, so that kind of like pushes you to like get out of your comfort zone and like push yourself as well.
yeah.
Because I think a lot of like students also said and still like they say they prefer working on campus just because they see students around them, and people also like do like, oh, we're gonna stay here until like the other person like exits DC, for example,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and they end up staying for a long while because the other person didn't just leave.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think coming to campus and doing work gives you like a very solid motivation, and it's like it's just the environment because everyone is kind of doing stuff. You don't feel like wasting time. If you're just at home alone, you start studying, you're like, I'm bored. Yeah, let's do something else. So you start to make a project, like, okay, I built this much. Okay, chuck it. So yeah, it's definitely really important to like have that place where you can 100% focus on like the thing that you're trying to build or thing that you're trying to do.
Because yeah, because I feel like home is more like a comfort zone. Like you get the bed, you once you like sit on it, it just gets like much and more lazy. You don't want to like push yourself out there.
Exactly, exactly.
So even if you, I think, even if you have to like get up, get ready, and just head to campus, that is, I mean, I think most, what like what I did, like I would just like think like I would waste like 5 to 10 minutes of walk rather than just like studying at home. So I guess like that 10 minutes is like worth it because you would like push yourself, be more productive to be on campus.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, at home, it's like half the time, even if you're like sitting on a chair, you're working, then you just go randomly sit on the bed and then you're just gonna like doom scroll or like do something else. So it's, yeah, it just, the focus is gone.
Yeah, thanks, Prabhav. That is some incredible advice to end on. Thank you so much for taking your time to be on the podcast
Yeah,
and being so transparent with your questions. You really kind. It's really kind of you to like come here.
yeah, yeah, of
And
course.
any like last thing you want to say to like the UW students? Any like motivation or quote that you have, or like any advice that you want to give to like the students navigating their first co-ops?
I think just gonna say like you live in the moment, okay? Just like just do what you feel at that time is the best decision you make. And like you can think about the past, you can see the mistakes, but don't try to regret on them because it's not going to help you. Right? You can think about like, oh, I might have done this and this would have happened. It might have, but 98% of the time you can like you haven't and now you can't change that. So it's more important that you focus on like your current reality and try to go from there. And it's like university is still like, it's just a bigger playground than your school. So, whatever happens, I think university is very forgiving. It's not like uh, any choices you make are like gonna like they are gonna impact your future, but it's not like they're going to destroy or build it. It's more about like you're building a foundation that you're going to build your career on. So or your life on. So just like live in the moment, try to do things that you want to, and it's okay to like not 100% be like studying or working. It's okay to chill, but yeah, it's like you have to create that balance that's going to last you till the end.
Yeah, that's some good advice. To everyone watching, thank you for tuning in to the episode one. If you got value out of this, please drop a like and subscribe for more conversation with students who are navigating the same tech journey as you. Keep up the grind, lock in, have goals, make progress towards them day by day. And as a reminder, Prabhav's LinkedIn is in the description, and my LinkedIn's in the bio if you want to chat. We'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah, peace out.